Hello everybody and welcome to Millennial Homesteader. I am Audrey and I am here to give Masana moral support while he is putting in our banana trees over there. We just want to make sure that the water that gets out from the cottage goes in and waters the banana trees, and then that way we keep recycling all our water on the homestead. So we've done something similar, right? Where we talk about 10 things that we've learned on the homestead, 10 things that we regret doing on the homestead, or 10 things we wish we knew on the homestead. This is a little bit different. I think with each year things are quite different. We are now reaching about 3 years on this homestead, so our thoughts and how we understand things is actually changing. So we are hoping that our knowledge and our experiences as millennial homesteaders is really going to pave a path or a way for people like us and young people who would have thought that this was not possible, number one, especially in our context in South Africa. And number two, would not have thought that, you could live a life like this instead of climbing the corporate ladder. So here are some few things that we've learned and we kind of wish we knew, or maybe they were not things that we would have known before moving to the homestead, but I hope that they're going to be useful. So we are always getting the question, is it worth it to still homestead in South Africa, considering the crimes targeted towards people living on the farm? And yes, there is crime everywhere, you guys. So we think it is still worth it. So here's the number one thing we think you should do it. You get to learn to be self-sufficient. Although things feel a little bit calm in our country right now, there are still concerns of load shedding probably coming back. Things like that will make you realize why it's important to have your own land and to be able to produce your own electricity. This is something that you most likely would not be able if you lived in a city and didn't own your own land. In addition to that, growing your own food has become so important right now because the food prices are crazy, you guys. I don't even know how a lot of people are able to afford food and just sustain themselves. And we also recently found out that South Africa is importing maize meal from America. And we all know that a lot of the times in these, first world countries, a lot of things are fast-paced and they add a lot of stuff, chemicals, preservatives and all that. So imagine now we are getting maize meal from these countries where a lot of pesticides and chemicals have been used and they're bringing it to us. Imagine the type of diseases we're about to acquire or get. Imagine how it's going to be for a regular person to be buying maize meal in a bag, because that is our staple food. And if it's going to get imported, it means it's going to be super expensive. So now having your own land, even if it's not big like ours, we are able to grow some staples that we can actually eat in our home. So things like your sweet potatoes, your chickpeas, beans, things like that we would not usually buy in a store, because a lot of people believe those are like traditional foods. Back at home, you only eat them once you get home. Now is the moment to start growing those foods and adding them in your diet, because they are easy to grow, and even with a small piece of land you can still manage to grow a lot of food for your family. So it's still definitely worth it. So growing your own food is so important, and that's, I think, one of the top reasons why anyone should homestead. So another big thing is actually saving water. When you have your own land, you can do whatever you want. You can bring in as many tanks as you want. You can reuse your water. You can do whatever on your land, but it's not possible if you live in a suburban home, in a townhouse or in an estate. We've been hearing a lot of people saying that there's no water in Johannesburg, and this is in affluent areas. And they don't usually allow people to do whatever they want with the water, right? Like if you are saving water and reusing it, when you water your lawn, the water kind of stinks, so the neighbors are going to complain. And people are having to buy water to maintain their gardens and maintain their fancy lawns. And if they need water to drink, they have to wait for a truck to bring in this water. So if you are homesteading and you have just a small piece of land, you'll be able to do things like this without having to struggle. again, homesteading, a big part of homesteading is really the freedom that it comes with. So you just have to think about it. Like, where am I going to get the most freedom? Is it in the city or on a piece of land where I'm going to be comfortable with my family and be able to become self-sufficient and sustain a certain lifestyle? And it's doable on a homestead. So number 2, another thing we learned on the homestead is we don't have to be stuck in the traditional way of living. I think a lot of people, when they think about someone living on a farm, they are going to be using a tiny little phone that only receives messages and phone calls, or you don't have internet and you can't work anymore. But we quickly realized that you could have all these things on a homestead and still be homesteading. I don't know if that makes sense. You can be off the grid but still on the grid, in a sense that you could still have internet, you could still have solar and have lights. You don't have to cook with fire. You can still use gas. You can use like all the things that you really enjoy in the city. You can actually attain them here, but with a little bit of more freedom. So yeah, we quickly realized that we don't actually have to live like we are suffering as most people think. Because I think at first when we moved here, I think our parents or our relatives thought we were now going to be living like the way our grandparents used to live, cook on fire, go fetch water from a river, and then do this and that and all the other stuff. But no, guys, we have a gas geyser over there. We cook with gas, we have lights and all the other stuff. So you don't really have to be stuck in this whole I don't want to go back and live like my grandparents. You can really bring what you enjoy in the city on a homestead and enjoy yourself. So number 3, another thing that we really learned on the homestead quickly was that this lifestyle cannot be attained without hard work. There is a lot of trial and error, and a lot of the times we want things to happen really quickly, but then you start to realize that you do something and then 2 months later you realize it's not working and you have to restart. When we got to this homestead, we had a garden in a whole different place. We were growing vegetables in a completely different area to where we are growing now. And if you looked at that space right now, let me just show you what it looks like. So this is where we grew our vegetables in the first year. This whole area was full of vegetables. We had baby marrows here. We had made this place look really nice. We had hired someone to help us clear out all those weeds. We bought seedlings. We did everything that was, needed to really create a garden. And this is what it looks like right now. So you quickly realize that sometimes you do things that you think are going to last your lifetime, then you suddenly have to remove them or change because it's really not working. So yes, the hard work part is literally destroying the things that you've really worked hard. We used to wake up super early in the morning, 5 a.m. before work, water our garden, then go to work because we really needed to make sure that this works. And in the long term, it just couldn't work. The water was just too far. We had not set up an irrigation system and all the other stuff. So yeah, you really have to be patient. It's gonna take a long time, so you really have to learn to have that patience to keep going because you will quickly give up. So hard work is at the top of your mind if you are trying to homestead. Okay, so number 4, although it takes a lot of money to start up a homestead, if you're within our age range, right? You're still working and you're still trying to save up for retirement and all the other stuff. It's going to take a lot of money. It's similar to literally buying your home, just with a little bit more cost because you've bought bigger land than the one you would have bought in a suburban area, right? So it's gonna take a lot of money. But if you really set up your homestead well, it could really help you to achieve financial independence. Because if you're now growing your food, you are selling your eggs, you are selling chickens, or you're just finding ways to get money from your homestead, then it's definitely doable. So yes, you can achieve financial independence on a homestead, but you definitely have to set it up right. Like, know what you want to do on your homestead. Don't just go in there and think that, okay, just because I'm on a homestead, things are going to be free. No, they won't. But if you set it up right, you will achieve financial independence by literally just setting it up the right way to be able to get money from whatever that you're doing on your homestead. Number 5, the homestead community actually exists online and not in real life. We quickly realized this because when we moved here initially, we thought, well, we want to avoid people, right? So then we realized we had neighbors, and that kind of annoyed us for a little bit. But actually, we have not met any of these neighbors. We actually don't even know who these neighbors are. Like, some of them, if we met them somewhere outside of this place, we would not even know that that is our neighbor. So yes, the community exists, but it has not existed for us on the homestead. And if you are going to move on a homestead, I hope you don't expect to be meeting people, because we've realized that people actually move to a homestead to be away from people. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. If you want to be part of a community, then the city is definitely for you, because there is a lot of things that you can do to get to meet people and be around people or like-minded people and do things that you would enjoy, and have activities and stuff. But once you move to the countryside or to the homestead or rural area, like, that doesn't exist. And also, the communities are not similar to what we grew up around. Our grandparents had relatives surrounding the area. You kind of knew everyone around the village, but here it's not the same. People have big pieces of land with lots of trees, and you don't even get to see them. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Just because you're going to a homestead, it doesn't mean that you're going to create a community or be part of a community. So for the last one, number 6, I think the homestead has taught us about being sustainable and actually understanding our environmental impact. And I know that Masana is going to explain this one a little bit better. So let's hear what he has to say.
Hey.
Check it away, sir.
Okay, so...
Sorry to bother you.
No, it's okay. So one thing that we don't really like to think about often is, whether or not the decisions we're making are actually helping the environment. As in, are they making the place better in the way that we found it before? And being on the homestead really made us reevaluate that. Before, when we were not on the homestead, we just kind of fooled ourselves and really didn't think about it, and we thought like we were really, environmentally conscious. But when we got here, we had to realize it, because
to change a lot.
We had to change a lot. And one of the ways, of course, was, when we made bad decisions and we planted something, it just wouldn't grow, or it wouldn't grow very well. So we could really see that the decisions we were making were not really helping the environment. So we started being more specific about how we are when we treat the environment and the earth. So not littering on there, making sure that we nourish it, composting, taking care of it, things like that, and how intentional we were about it. So that was quite crucial. And I think the thing is that one day we're going to leave the earth, and we're going to leave it to a couple of other people who are going to have to use it. And we then started to think about the fact that the things that we're doing now, will it be beneficial to those individuals? Right? We often like to think about the fact that what we're doing is important for ourselves and our families, but there's going to be another group of people who will come along. And so I think we're a lot more conscious, and that's why we started to also consider, like when we're washing dishes, what kind of chemicals are we using, right? Like biodegradable products. Like, we didn't do this before, but once we got to the homestead, we really were more focused on it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So in addition to what Masana just said, we are actually launching our Millennial Homesteader webpage where you can get to follow our journey and read more about what we've been doing and what we're up to. But one thing we are super excited about is our biodegradable products, which you'll be able to purchase on the website as well. These products are going to be helping you save water, because we don't want to wake up in South Africa where there's no water. So we want you to wash your dishes, wash your clothes, and use that water to water your garden, water your lawn, and that way we can all make an impact on the environment. Until next time, thank you so much and see you in the next one. Bye.